What's up, folks? David here, TexasHornsFans.com. Into the spring game. So let's jump into it here. Started a little bit early, so we'll give maybe about a minute for people to get on here. So definitely drop your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts were about just different aspects of the game, different matchups, schemes, the good, the bad. Anybody that jumped out at you, that surprised you, that stood out. I definitely jotted down a couple names. So we had the white winning over the orange this time. The white was second team offense, first team defense. Orange, first team offense, second team defense. So definitely also don't forget to give the video a like, share it out, and invite or tag anybody on here that you think would want to join. Try to do a preview a couple days ago so that people would be reminded who wanted to come on here and chat about the game. But you guys know, don't let me just be a talking head. I want to see what you guys thought too, because everybody always brings up some awesome points that I'm not thinking of, right? And just kind of has a much broader view of what we saw. So overall, I think that overall I was pretty impressed at times with just about every aspect of the offense, defense, and special teams. I thought several players stood up to make some really awesome plays. And sure, there are mistakes. There were drops by wide receivers, first team, wide receivers early on. Casey and Hudson had each had some struggles with some passes and some reads and moving around in the pocket. But overall, the number one thing that I think you don't want to see in a spring game is sloppiness. Sure, you're going to have some penalties. You're going to have, like I said, you're going to have some drops, but you don't want to see, a full four quarters of guys lining up in the wrong spot or running the wrong route or a quarterback just completely missing on a receiver, or a bunch of fumbles. And I didn't think we saw a lot of that for a spring game, especially, with putting in a completely new coaching staff. I would expect to see some of that, but I think mostly that was pretty well toned down. Kind of given who won the game, to me the defense beat the offense just across the board. Sure, there were some times and early on the opening drive, it looked like the offense was humming. Casey looked great, Bijan looked great, the offensive line I thought looked dominant very early on, but given the entire game, that's kind of really what a spring game is. It's really kind of offense versus defense, because the ones play the ones, the twos play the twos. I really think overall the defense won this game, and they won the game just in terms of not allowing the offense to continuously sustain drives. Now, sure, that's not that surprising. The defense is usually ahead of the offense in spring ball and in fall camp. So that doesn't surprise me. The offense has to strategize more. The offense has to get timing down more, quarterback and wide receiver timing with the blocking scheme and the running backs, and the running backs trusting that the holes will open up. So that doesn't surprise me, but good and bad from both ends. Obviously, the big storyline that everybody's paying attention to is Hudson and Casey. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? We're not going to know until a couple 2 or 3 weeks before the Louisiana game, the opening game, and we shouldn't, right? You're not going to decide that after spring. I thought early on Casey looked great. His timing and touch on some of his passes were awesome. He had some deep ball passes that looked great. He had some drops on him. Card had drops. Both players still made some mistakes, had some ugly throws. Casey obviously threw a pick six down in the red zone. He was going for Jordan Whittington, and Shark just jumped right in front of him. Shark Jameson just read it and jumped in front of Whittington and took off down the sidelines for a pick six. So, interceptions, going to happen, but in the red zone when you're driving to score, that's just absolutely the worst. It's just a massive swing, the other way. Card had one pass that it was about kind of a mid-range pass that just went right into the dirt. It was just ugly. But overall, I thought they both looked good. The one aspect of the game of each of their games that we weren't going to see anyway in a spring game is their running ability. Just being not, and I don't just mean moving around. I mean actually running the ball downfield. Both can do that. So and being in black jerseys, not being able to be tackled, we weren't going to see that much at all. So, but yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys, as we kind of cover these topics. I'll cover some ones that I jotted down. Let's see, Andrew's on here, Jared, Wyatt, Matthew. Drop a comment and let me know that you're in here. But and going back to Hudson and Casey, if you had to use this game to pick which one deserve to be the starter, I don't see how you could clearly pick either one. I was kind of hoping that in this game, one would clearly kind of look better than the other. And I think that might be a main reason why we saw both Hudson and Casey play the entire game. They were both playing at the very end of the fourth quarter. Casey had a Hail Mary to try to score at the very end on the last play. So, I wouldn't be surprised if even the coaches are kind of still up in the air. Now, there's a lot of other factors that we may not know, their knowledge of the offense, their ability to read, go through progression, stuff like that. But just in terms of how they looked in the pocket, passing the ball, I kind of think it's a push, right? Overall, I think Hudson is just a better pure passer. Casey absolutely shows good timing, good touch. There might be a dynamic there that we just don't get to see yet. So, that's the hard part. Now, I saw some people in some of the Facebook groups during the game kind of talk about, Hudson Card gets to go against the second team defense. Yeah, that's true, but he's also working with the second team offense. Okay. You got to kind of look at it as balanced. His offensive line is second, third, or really kind of second, third string, where the other team is kind of first, fourth string. So he's not working with an experienced receiver like Josh Moore or experienced, like Cade, tight end like Cade Brewer. That's just, you can't just say that, Card gets to go against the second team defense. He's working with the second team offense too. So he had a great touchdown pass to Marcus Washington, where Washington was kind of doing a pretty quick, kind of an in post route, and Card fired it right before Washington finished his break, and it was pretty close to being incomplete. It was a tight window, but it was a great pass. He had a couple of good downfield, middle of the field passes too. A couple to Kai Money. I think he hit one. With Gunnar Helm, the tight end, the new tight end, the 6'7" tight end. But that was pretty cool to see. So yeah, I like seeing downfield, middle of the field passes hitting receivers in stride. That's kind of cool. Bijan obviously looked really good. He had that touchdown run where he saw an opening and he almost juked himself out. He made a stop cut and kind of ripped up the field, used his hand to balance himself, then headed into the end zone untouched. And if I remember right, there were a couple of defenders that were trying to cut him off. And I think it was Brennan Schooler and Deshaun Jameson, and they both just, looked kind of lost when he made that cut. you can kind of tell that they both immediately knew that they weren't going to stop him from getting in the end zone. So that was pretty cool. I thought we would, we saw some of Bijan out of the backfield, but I thought we were going to see maybe a few more plays where Bijan is running routes out of the backfield, not just as a check down, right? Not just as a last option. So, but overall, I wouldn't expect to see more than a third of the playbook, in the spring game. Not necessarily a third of the plays, but just the overall complexity and things like that. I didn't really pay too much of attention to route running. It's kind of hard with the camera. But Jordan Whittington, he obviously got open a few times. Kai Money looks good. I think they need to find some ways to get Kai Money on the field. He's an unassuming looking receiver, but man, he just makes catches. I mean, what are you going to say? I don't think he's not going to blow the top off the field. He's not a guy that's going to, do a 70-yard catch and run touchdown very much. But he kind of reminds me of Hunter Renfrow when he was at Clemson. Just a guy that is trustworthy. He gets open, and you hear the players talk about him. They talk about him like he's just always where he should be, and he just makes catches. So, as deep as the receiver room is with Moore, O'Meary, Jake, Jordan, and then you throw the tight ends in there, Marcus Washington, Avante Woodard, Cavante Dixon. I think Kai Money is earning himself some playing time. Had some drops. Washington had a drop. A ball did go through Kai Money's hands, I remember, late, but it was kind of a hard pass by Hudson Card. He maybe put a little bit too much on it. There were a few other drops. Josh Moore dropped a touchdown. It wasn't an easy catch, but it was early on, right before Bijan scored. He had to go up to get it, which was a great play, and then he just didn't secure the ball on his way down. I thought the defender, I don't remember who was defending him, I thought the defender kind of knocked it out or landed on him, but it was really just Josh Moore not securing the ball. But we've seen him be able to do that before, so I'm not too worried about that. What else? Card really, as much as Casey impressed me on the opening drive of the game, Hudson Card impressed me almost equally on the opening drive of the second half, which I believe that's when he had his touchdown to Marcus Washington. Dicker the kicker had a 58-yard field goal. I think they said it was, and then he missed one that he should have made. Which that's kind of him, right? He seems to be money from high pressure field goals from a long distance, but sometimes the 35 to 40 yarders he can shank. So I see a few comments in here. We'll kind of get to those, but those were kind of my overall thoughts. Early on, I think the offensive line was winning over the defensive line. But then I think as we kind of got into the second quarter, the defensive line ended up winning against the offensive line. If I had to pick for the whole game, I'd say the D-line won. Colburn got in there a few times. Don't really remember a lot of Alfred Collins. Jacoby Jones looked good. Ojimo got 2 sacks. That was cool to see. So that's kind of what I mean when we see some of these guys step up that you weren't really expecting, like Kai Money, Ojimo. That was cool. Ray Thornton looks good there. He kind of looks like Joseph Osai, just in his pads. The jersey number as well. But I'm really confident about the D-line. I had them picked as the strongest position unit on the team anyway, leading up to the game. And I definitely think that's true. Now, we saw both Casey and Hudson, I think, hold the ball too long at times. Hudson took 2 sacks there right at the end of the game that they were in the red zone, and he took 2 sacks that absolutely was a huge mistake. So, and it didn't push them out of field goal range, but you know, they didn't make it. So sometimes that's as bad as a turnover, right? So, you know, and maybe that means the defensive back stepped up. Jaron Thompson made some plays. I didn't see much of BJ Foster. Didn't see much of Josh Thompson. Obviously, DeMarvion Overshone, linebacker, was out. He's still rehabbing. And Derek Kirksetter was suited out. That was kind of surprising. He even had knee braces on, as if he was going to play. So don't know what that was about. Maybe he just wanted to suit up. So, but overall, I liked the offensive line. David Gabenda got in there on a few plays at linebacker. I'm still concerned about linebacker just overall as a position unit. But obviously, Shark had a great game. He had one really good return too, but he had that pick 6, which he can be a game changer. He's awesome to have back there. So he absolutely, you know, is cornerback number 1. I think it's going to end up being Shark, Josh Thompson at corner, Brennan Schooler or BJ Foster. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Schooler ends up the main guy there. Darian Dunn, I don't remember seeing a lot of him, but you know, sometimes as a defensive back, if your name's not called a lot, that kind of means you're doing a job because the quarterback's not going to you. All right, let's see what we've got in the comments. Andrew, it was good. So Jared says that Card was the more accurate passer. I mean, Card had some moments where he looked really, really good. I think stat-wise, which stats in a spring game really don't mean much, but they were both pretty even in terms of completion percentage. Card did have the touchdown, and then Casey had no touchdowns, and then that pick 6. So the pick 6 stands out, obviously, as a big negative, and it is. And then Hudson's standout is throwing the touchdown pass. You know, so if you had to pick out, like, what was Casey's best moment? I remember a pretty long completion on the money on the first drive. I can't remember who it was to, but maybe Jordan Whittington. And then, you know, Casey's or Hudson's best, you know, I think best pass was the touchdown pass. But negatively, I think both need some improvement in the pocket, just moving around, because it seemed to me that they would stick in the pocket, and instead of just kind of being comfortable and moving around, it was either they were in the pocket or they were out of there. They were gone. You know, so I don't know. That's kind of tough, and that's only going to come with in-game experience. So, and that's another cool thing about a spring game is that it's also game situation. You've got to know the clock. Like with Hudson Card, you can't take 2 sacks toward the end of the game in the red zone in a 2-minute drill. Yes, they were winning. Technically, the white team was winning, but still, that's as a coach, that's exactly what you're looking for from your quarterback. Do you know that you can't take a sack, much less 2 sacks in that situation? So to me, that was Hudson's biggest negative moment right there toward the end of the game. But yeah, Card did, you know, to Jared's point, Card had some really, really sweet passes. He's got zip on the ball, no question about it. But, you know, Casey did too. You know, both guys dealt with some drops from their receivers. Wyatt says that he thought that no position group really stuck out as being very bad. I'll agree to that. You know, I can't say that, you know, there was just a massive absence from one position group. You know, like I said, I think we did see kind of this offense looked really good early on, and then the defense sort of rose up and really kind of controlled the game for about 3 quarters. I definitely think the defense won the game. Paul says the all gas no brakes seemed to forgot to put the car out of neutral, but Card seemed like the better passer and more settled than Casey out there. Casey hurried his passes and was off the mark quite a few times, but hopefully no major injuries and good overall scrimmage. Can't wait for the fall. Yeah, I think Casey just had an inconsistent game overall. Looked good at times. Looked. I don't know. It's hard to tell when you can't see which receivers are being covered. Like that's why I like going to games and sitting up high. Actually, I don't like sitting down low at games. I like to sit up high because you can actually see the game unfold and the plays unfold. And if you want to watch a wide receiver versus a cornerback, you can. If you want to watch an offensive tackle versus a defensive end, you can. So you get to kind of see that scheme unfold. So maybe Casey was just dealing with wide receivers not being opened. I thought both quarterbacks held the ball too long at times. Casey did have a couple of, I think, good choices by just throwing the ball away a couple times. But yeah, I mean, you definitely know it's hard trying to win over the QB1 job. It's not that in addition to having to impress and develop relationships with a brand new coach. It's not like Casey Thompson has known Steve Sarkisian for the past 3 years while he's been in the program. He's new. Coach Sark is new to Casey and Hudson. So, but here's the thing: 2 pretty good quarterbacks, right? That's you have to have a backup quarterback too. My signal might be sticking here, but yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of people say that Hudson had a better game. A lot of people are going to say that Casey had a better game. When I can agree with both of you, to me it was overall it was kind of a push. So, and I'm not just looking at situational stuff. I'm looking at like how they're throwing the ball, their footwork. It will be nice to go back and watch the game again, to watch more closer things. Like I want to watch more like how did the receivers line up? Was there anything special about that? There was one really cool play to open up the second half. Kai Money, it was an out pass to Kai Money, it was a lateral, and then he threw the ball downfield to I can't remember. I thought it was Gunnar Helm. Anyway, that was a cool play. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Overall, pretty impressed. Overall, I didn't notice a lot of like clear offensive schematic difference. Like nothing stood out to me to make me think, wow, that's really creative, or wow, that's cool. I did kind of notice Jordan Whittington getting downfield more. I think I also noticed the wide receivers catching the ball on the run more, where under Tom Herman and Sam, it seemed to be more of a possession type thing. Now we would see, Devin Duvernay from the slot sometimes catch the ball and run and kind of roll his way down, but it was a lot of, sideline passes, possession, win the ball because you're just taller and bigger. But hopefully we see more guys, running routes and making catches on the run. Bijan's got to give everybody a lot of confidence. That kid's got it. He's just keep him healthy. His last play of the game, David Benda kind of twisted his foot up a little bit. You could tell he limped off a little bit, and he didn't come back in the game. But that was toward the end. I was pretty surprised that Bijan was getting that many snaps in the fourth quarter. I thought Bijan would kind of go away at about mid third quarter. I thought we'd see him maybe a drive in the second half, and that'd be it. Gabriel Watson was pretty nice too. He was the transfer last year. He's kind of a one-trick pony. It looks like he's just kind of a big dude, kind of like Daniel Young, but he's a tough runner. He's got big legs. He's a tough downhill runner. Roshan is kind of like that, but Roshan has I think he's got some more moves, especially in tight space. Not like Bijan does, but just more. I think Roshan does a good job of making himself difficult to wrap up. He's a tough dude to wrap up, but he had some strong runs. But yeah, running back is strong. It's that's going to be fun to watch. All right, guys. No other comments. No other questions. But yeah, thanks. It was fun. If you're catching another replay, definitely still leave your comment below. And then, like I said, give this a like, share it out. Check us out at texashornsfans.com. And then also sign up for the email list there so you don't miss anything. If you're off Facebook or don't get on very much, we'll send you email reminders as well. So texashornsfans.com. And then we'll get this. I'll get this put on YouTube as well on the YouTube channel. So those, if you know people on YouTube, you can share it out there. All right, appreciate it.